right, it is After Dark with DaddyFreeze and the Lobsters. And we have quite a lot going on today. 8 o'clock on the dot. First of all, I was at the toll gate for 30 minutes. I know who watched my live video. As we're getting to the toll gate, one boss decided to jump in front of us. We're all angry. The next thing, they now barricaded the whole toll gate and said nobody can move. After we have entered that line and there are like 500 cars behind us. And I'm like, all right, this guy dumb. He jumped the queue, but you dumber.
For
barricading the whole. Now, how do we now have to go to the last car and tell him to reverse? Then the one before that, reverse. Then like 600 cars later, it gets to my turn. I now reverse before we can now change lane. That's how I went to meet them and say, please.
Can you take the barricade?
We all prostrated.
Wow.
Can you please help us take this barricade? He has sinned. He's a foolish guy. But don't punish all of us for his sin. But which is what eventually happens. I realize that we're very indisciplined in this part of the world and we're very ignorant. And let me tell you something here. Most people in this part of the world are going to eventually die out of their ignorance. Let me give you some statistics, scary statistics. Most of the deaths in aircraft occur after the plane has already come to a complete stop. Sure. Meaning they were not able to evacuate the plane on time. Now, a plane has about 1 minute 30 seconds to evacuate everybody. 1 minute 30 seconds. You get on the plane, you don't listen to what they're saying. You don't know, like Naomi yesterday, you don't know that the first thing you have to take off is your shoes if you want to jump on the raft.
Because I'm not planning to jump.
You're not planning to jump.
No.
What are you going to do? You're going to die. You see, my problem is not you that are suicidal out of ignorance. Do you know how many people you're going to kill? If you break the chain, you don't move quick enough, get to the door as quick as possible, get on the raft, move to safety. Get on the door, move. If you are there, I'm going to die.
But
die all you want to die, but don't be an obstruction.
1 minute 30 seconds is not enough for an aircraft to get out.
Oh, so I'll show you.
And I always, I never ever want to sit on the emergency exit. I never want to sit around.
A professional crew can actually empty an airplane.
I don't want to be the one that has to do everything. No.
You don't know.
So I avoid it.
A professional crew can actually empty an airplane in about a minute. Empty 300 people. If you listen. And everybody obeys instructions. But the problem is you don't listen.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about something yesterday when they said the pilot was a woman, the captain was a woman. Now, I said the pilot flying wasn't a woman. And guess what? I was right after all. I've been in the cockpit of a plane before. And let me give you an example. When you're on short final, the pilot is adjusting his chair like this, holding the yoke, moving his hand from the yoke to the throttle. He's not even dropping the gear. It's the pilot monitoring that's dropping gear and doing communications. I just thought about it. Can you really be adjusting your chair, making sure you're ready for the impact of the landing, and then still be, hello everybody, how are you?
This is your captain.
This is Lacey. Do you understand? Just because I have put myself in a place of knowledge, I realized that it will be not impossible, but actually very difficult. Only for me to call a pilot friend this morning and say, don't you even know SOP? That whoever is flying cannot talk. A standard operating procedure. I'm like, I didn't know it was standard operating procedure. But being in a cockpit and knowing a bit about aviation, I knew it to be next to impossible. The mic buttons are around here. The communication buttons in a 737. The yoke is in front of you. The throttle is about here. You have intercepted the glide slope. You want to follow the glide slope, maintain center line, and then still talk. You'd have to be a genius. Just by having that understanding. Only for me to realize that it's actually banned. You can't even do it if you wanted to. So obviously, if they were hearing a woman's voice, she was not flying the plane. Whether you like it or not. So hello guys, my dear ignorant friends. So that's gone, first of all. Secondly, of course, I don't like to push the narrative. It was a woman flying, she did so well. What if it was the woman's mistake that got you in the bad situation in the first place? I'm not saying it is, but I'm saying, what if it was?
Then it should, the talk would be, obviously it was a woman. You know how these women are.
I'm saying, are we still going to come out and say it was a woman that flew us into trouble? You see, right now they're conducting investigations. They're talking to people, asking for pictures, talking to ATC, that's the control tower, talking to the cabin crew, talking to both pilots together and separately, trying to establish what went wrong. What if tomorrow they release a report that it was actually pilot error? And it was something the captain did or didn't do.
I mean, Africans, we are quite hypocritical. We'll just change.
It just happened. We'll just change. Are we going to change? You see, a good pilot's a good pilot. A bad pilot's a bad pilot. Let's remove gender from the equation. That's my number one point. And I'm glad, I was proud of myself for seeking information and not speaking like ignorant people. It was a woman. Okay. She guided us. You see, if you don't have a clue about something, why don't you keep quiet?
But DaddyFreeze, there is a picture out now of the woman that was flying the plane, right?
But
there's a picture out. Is it? Who released the picture?
It was on all the blogs.
The blogs. What did you say? What did you say? Say again. It was where?
It was on all the blogs.
Has the Accident Investigation Bureau released the report? No. The blogs. Remember, the blog said the plane fell out of the sky.
But again, they're not wrong.
You want me to show you?
It dropped from the sky.
That's literally what the blog said.
But it's not like Epis has come to refute that. Oh, that's not the lady that was flying.
No, but they're talking about
it. They said they heard a lady's voice. That refutes the fact that she was flying the plane. Mm-hmm. If you knew what SOP was.
Okay.
Automatically. I just explained the procedure of what happens in a cockpit when a plane is landing. So if you're hearing a voice, whoever it is you're hearing is not flying.
But she controls, like you said the other person that talks controls the gears, like the person who...
you see, plane is not like car that has... in aeroplane, gear is tire. Another ignorant...
Sorry, no, tire.
When you hear gear, and it's one switch, here, down, gear down, and 3 buttons come up to show that it come on. 3 red buttons turn green to show that the gear has been fully extended. 1 for the nose and 2 depending on the size. I'm talking about the 737.
The nose.
The nose gear. The nose tire. So when you hear gear, you think, oh, they are changing gear 1, gear 1, put it in reverse. Come on, Nigerians. Sorry, I mean Ugandans. So you understand what I'm talking about? So dropping a gear is 2 seconds. She'll probably be even busier adjusting flaps on landing.
No, just be paying attention to air hostesses.
Pay attention.
If I'm going to
find out what's wrong,
everything about a plane.
You see, we're so emotional, and guess what? Emotions and sentiments breed ignorance because we start thinking with our emotions instead of our logic.
But I feel like people who are coming out say she's a woman, are coming from a good place.
I don't care what place you're coming from. Listen. If you say, imagine you see me wearing a Rolex, and you say, oh man, his bosses in Cool FM are so nice, they bought him a Rolex. You're coming from a good place. Mm-hmm. But you're still ignorant. Mm-hmm. Let's never make let's start today. What's today's date?
24th July
24th July 2019. Let us hold our hands to our chest and say, from today, the battle against ignorance begins for me. Say it. Ignorance in everything. ignorance in legal matters, ignorance in medicine, ignorance in police matters, ignorance in aviation, ignorance in automobiles, ignorance with communicable diseases.
Ignorance must die by
it
fire.
Must die by, that's the only thing that should die by fire. Ignorance. I don't know if I'm making sense to you.
Yeah.
Look at 90% of the comments on the Timi Dakolo Koza story. All emotional.
I think people just don't know how to put out their thoughts. Because it's
not about not knowing how. It's not having any right thoughts. Your thoughts are clouded by your auntie that is a witch in the village.
What I mean by that is, if people knew how to put out their thoughts, then they would use words like alleged. I think. But people don't.
I'm in the opinion.
Someone will just come and say, it is what it is. It was done.
It was a woman that flew the plane.
It was as if you are also...
Did you not hear it? I can actually play for you. Go to my page and or just, if you have that particular... You hear the voice clearly. It was a woman that flew the plane. You are on a bus.
Well, hopefully...
You probably did not even sit in business class that is close to where the... they don't need, you see, there are some things they don't need. The plane is white, it's not red. Airpiece does not need to come out and put it that our plane was white. Yeah, there are some things that are glaring.
Really, but honestly, it doesn't really matter who flew the plane.
It doesn't?
Right? It doesn't really
and all the blogs are saying, wow, a beautiful hero.
And it
doesn't she's so beautiful.
I think it's not too much of a big deal if they're even praising that it's a woman that flew it. I mean,
let's find out.
It's not a big
deal. Because I'm getting hints that there
good.
Could be some elements of pilot error. I'm waiting. I'm waiting patiently.
Elements of pilot error.
I'm not saying it is, but there could be. What if there is?
There could be. Why do you put the what if there is a pilot error because they're celebrating that it's a woman? Why do you have to put that?
Also, keyword. He said if. He didn't say that.
That's what I'm saying. Why do you have to put that what if? Why do you have to assume that because you feel like they're celebrating a woman and they shouldn't be celebrating a woman that flew?
The thing is, I'm asking what if there is?
I'm asking
there's a likelihood that a report would come out. What if there was pilot error?
You'll see everyone's...
Why are you celebrating without... Listen, do you know you could celebrate and realize that plane would actually have landed without and taxied and dropped everybody off where they were supposed to if there was no pilot error in the first place? Have you ever bothered to put into the consideration that nobody's a hero that landed a plane until we find out what happened?
People were celebrating the woman because as much as you like to say that everyone is equal, society doesn't prove that right. Women are still fighting to get to the top. So people are celebrating.
I'm not seeing that anymore.
I mean, I feel like no, I don't support that saying, oh, a woman was the one flying.
So what
because saying in 2019, no, trust me, every now and then we hear that women are like captains of this flight.
What's the difference between that and us celebrating the fact that maybe a Nigerian has joined the UN? What's the difference? I mean, if you're pushing for equality, what's the difference between saying a woman is flying a plane?
I understand what.
Anybody that makes a fuss out of the fact that it was a woman that flew that plane,
exactly,
automatically in their mind do not have equality of both genders as a priority.
Is that exactly?
No, it should be the pilot, the great pilot. Not it was a woman. Do you understand? It should be the pilot that flew this flight. It's a great pilot.
That is it.
Not it was a woman. First time I saw the gist, I already got put off by that alone. Do you understand? It just makes you feel like women are still a
good broadcaster, for instance, is a good broadcaster.
It doesn't have to be about
Christiana Mampour goes to the war front more than many men and does a great job about it. It has nothing to do with the fact that she's a woman. It just shows that she is good at what she does and she's dedicated to her line of duty. And that is what we should celebrate.
But then again, it was just the one woman that if it's one woman that put out the story and said, oh my God,
one woman that put out the story
and that
got to all the blogs,
all right?
And all the blogs are now flying with a story that a woman saved the situation without taking into consideration that proper reports, proper investigation has not been conducted, and maybe what if the woman was the one that actually put them in a place of jeopardy in the first place.
I feel like the problem is the same thing.
That you're not using your words right. If it was a man that was being celebrated.
I would be saying
if it was a man,
I would be saying
that was being celebrated.
Hold on.
What if he
Do you know why I'll be saying this? Because it's too early to celebrate over an incident that hasn't been investigated.
Because I feel like
now, take a look at this. Take a look at this situation, and take a look at the Busola situation. Can you see a pattern now? There's a pattern. People do not do proper investigation. They just jump. They just believe. They just swayed by emotion. It's so easy to sway people who are ignorant.
I'm lost. What's the
by
trend?
emotions?
Why are we putting that? Why are we relating the rape case between Busola?
We're not relating the rape case. We are relating the reaction of the people.
Because how many people?
Rape is a very serious issue.
Exactly.
And that is why I recommended from the beginning that cautionary measures should be put in place. Even if the truth has not been established, cautionary measures should be put in place so nobody else falls victim. But it still remains an uninvestigated case. Whether you like it or not, it has not been investigated. It has not been put to the trial of a competent court. It hasn't. It is still, sorry to say it, a set of allegations coming from both parties. This one is alleged, the other person is alleged
as well. Yes, correct.
And if you see the people who are making their minds, some people will say, okay, I stick with Busola. You ask them, why do you stick with Busola? And they give you some facts. Because I knew her when we were in secondary school, and I knew the kind of person she was. Or because I was in that place too at that period. Or but most of the people would come and say things like, what does she have to lose? What does she have to gain? It's not in your place to say. Then you look at the other side, the people defending the pastor. Hey, he's our pastor in our church.
He can't do that.
Nobody is coming with. There was one judge. The moment that judge spoke, I sent him a DM immediately on Twitter. I'm like, dude, I want to sit down with you and have an interview. He was a judge who had judged cases. He gave the example of a case he judged where a woman was being hit by her husband with boxing gloves. They found the gloves, but the police misplaced the gloves. Standing trial in front of the judge, the husband said he doesn't know where she collected the blow from, that they should ask her. They didn't have they had pictures. But the husband said he was not the one that hit her, and they didn't have his boxing gloves. So the guy walked. Yeah. Let's remember that O.J. Simpson walked. Despite the fact that a lot of people felt that he was actually guilty. So at the early stage of, or the early stages of a case, it is, I can actually say, ignorant for you to make prejudiced decisions. Why is a decision? Oh, because she's a woman. Why is a decision? Oh, because he's a pastor. Why is a decision? Because the pilot. What if it were a man? I would still not stand. If the pilot were a man, for instance, I would still not celebrate that he saved anything, because until the investigation bureau comes out and says, the pilot tried, there was a mechanical failure. Let me tell you, if the pilot came in and fled too early or fled too late, he could put too much weight on the nose gear, and that damages it. So we need to find out, okay, what exactly happened? Now we can rule out pilot error. There was one particular incident. The plane took off and had a flame out in one of the engines. SOP, turn around, come back to the airport, land. The pilot calculated, he said, well, the facilities to repair the plane are not even here. It is where I'm flying to. So, you know what? And he was also in a hurry because he needed to get back there and then take a flight to go home. So it was like, you know what? I'll use one engine. Descending into, which one engine could actually take him. Descending into the port of arrival, short final, he has a second flame out. Wow. At the point where he needs power the most. The plane stalls, falls among everybody, and everybody dies.
Wow, no.
I'm giving you a story. I'm not going to mention the airline. I'm not going to mention the country, but I'm sure some of you can wrap your heads around it. So what if he had managed at that time where they had second flame out? He was, say, maybe 8,000 feet, and he had clear weather and good winds, and he just rode it and landed the plane without engines, and everybody would have come out and say, wow, he's a hero. If he had done SOP at the beginning, he wouldn't have needed to be a hero.
Oh yeah, so yeah, he's just someone that survived a bad situation.
Yes. So we need to have things properly established. Was it maintenance fault? Was it there was a pothole on the runway? Was it pilot error? Let me not. Okay, I love you. We're going to play a song. We'll come back. Yeah. After Dark on 96.9 Cool FM. Yes, it is a very, very beautiful, what day is today? Wednesday?
Yes.
34 minutes down 8 o'clock. And I want to talk about Otedola for the money. All right, so something happened earlier on today when I saw a post. Actually, a lot of people give me that phone. A lot of people tagged me in.
I sent it to you, right?
Naomi was the person who sent it to me, and I wanted to ignore it, but people kept tagging me in it, and I'm going to read it. Just give me the phone. I can find things faster than you.
Actually, the first person that came to my mind was you when I saw the post.
Yeah. So here it is.
Well, then you have.
So apparently, some guy said this to Femi Otedola. He says, "Hello, sir. Quick question. I notice you don't wear wristwatches. Why is that, if I may ask?" And Femi Otedola responded, "I started wearing a watch when I was 12 years old and stopped 3 years ago. Technology has ended our necessity for the archaic wristwatch. Less is more." Now, here's my response.
Humbly.
Very humbly. You know where you are humble. Because this is not Bible that I can say you're offending my God by saying wrong things. This is somebody raised the point, and I didn't go to pick it up from Femi's page. I picked it up from Instablog, so it was already a matter of national attention.
Oh, okay.
And I said, in my humble opinion, I think it all boils down to choice. While many see a wristwatch as a mere timepiece that tells you what time it is, a few of us appreciate the horological genius that goes into watchmaking. The focus of high-end watchmaking largely leans on the complexity of the movement, combined with a proficiency for demonstrating the mastery of watchmaking arts. In that vein, a Patek Philippe, a Piaget, Richard Mille or Audemars Piguet Tourbillon, for instance, is a masterpiece of artwork, sheer mechanical erudition, and exceptional material craftsmanship, the horological equivalent of a Picasso on your wrist. I wouldn't buy a Van Gogh or a Paul Cézanne painting for my wall, for instance, but that wouldn't stop me from appreciating the work that went into creating them, even if the painting techniques and materials are obsolete in today's world. And a lot of people, first of all, had problem with the way I expressed myself.
They couldn't understand.
A lot of us stopped at
So like what?
perfect.
So I'm going to explain every word. I'm going to explain every word. Timepiece, watch, in case you missed that. Horological genius. Horology is the art of watchmaking. Horological genius is a genius at making watches. Is that hard?
So you can say I'm wearing a horology.
No, you're wearing a horological masterpiece. Okay. Complexity of the movement. What's a movement? What's a watch movement? The watch movement is the engine. What you will call engine. Out of your ignorance. When you carry your watch to your babalao that helps you fix it. Engine, engine. That thing is not an engine. It's not called an engine. And it will not be called an engine because Nigerians understand it as engine. It is a movement. Okay? You can have a quartz movement, which is a battery-operated movement. You could have a mechanical movement. You could have an automatic movement. You could have a tourbillon movement.
Oh, the one that has a lot of circles.
That has a lot of circles. No, yeah, that's what you were saying was a chronograph. The one with many circles is a chronograph. So while you're looking for the words, where did I go wrong? How do you explain something complex in terms that people that like to look for Babalawo will understand? Exceptional material craftsmanship, I'm sure you understand what that is. Horological equivalent of a Picasso on your wrist. Do you understand what that is, Naomi? Horological equivalent of a Picasso on your wrist. What does it mean, Naomi? The horological equivalent of a Picasso on your wrist.
It's like the equivalent of wearing a wristwatch, right?
No, like it's like the time that has been taken.
No, just wait, one by one.
Instead of having a Picasso, it's like your love for a Picasso, right?
What's a Picasso?
Is it not? It has to do with artworks and stuff.
So a Picasso is like an art masterpiece. So having a Picasso on your wrist is like having a painting by Van Gogh or Picasso or Leonardo da Vinci on your wrist. A work of art on your wrist. So what else is so difficult that when I saw the responses on Instablog, I was afraid.
No, DaddyFreeze, I'm pretty sure people stopped at.
I'm like,
because of all the designers that you're talking about. If people
I didn't mention a single. Let's leave the designers.
First of all, the watches you're mentioning are expensive, but they're expensive. They're for like an educated mind. Now, everyone who was reading, I'm sure, was looking for Rolex.
Now, Rolexes, if you know, Rolexes are the beginning of luxury watches. Rolex, Omega, Hublot is even higher than Rolex.
Yeah.
Not the fake Hublots you will see on
That's
the road.
what I'm saying. So you see the names that you called. Most people don't even. How many people can buy that?
What does that mean again? Ignorance? How many people can?
It's not,
buy?
but if you
Listen,
know
the
that
fact
it's
that
not
I
about
can't buy a
ignorance.
plane does not mean I don't know how it works. The fact that I can't afford a Lamborghini.
It's not every designer.
No,
it's not every designer that everybody knows.
A
right?
plane is seen
And people-
everywhere, but a watch, like if you're going to tell someone Richard Mille, that's why people are steady buying Richard Milles for 50k. If you don't
And they
know,
don't
and
even
then
know.
Exactly, and then you hear maybe in a song you hear
Maybe
Beyonce
when
saying,
you get arrested at an airport for carrying
Plus, it
counterfeit
takes a
product.
really somebody
So they can arrest
that
you.
really
Yes.
loves wristwatches to go into it that deep to want to buy all of these designers that you're talking about. Some people
Now,
don't even care.
okay, some people don't even care the same way they don't care about law.
no, I just, no,
No,
watch is
listen,
different.
that's why I'm still going back to the Dakolo Busola situation. Because if you don't understand what is, at least you understand a case between two people. How many people actually showed understanding of legal matters in that case? Let's leave. Watch is big, Abby. Aeroplane is big. Let's leave the two. Let's talk about the ignorance that was displayed there.
Actually,
What excuse do you have for that?
I haven't seen anyone.
You come out and you see, you make excuses
For what?
for ignorance all the time. I've never seen more excuses for ignorance than in this part of the world.
I didn't see people give like matter, but rape is a generous thing. Everyone knows someone who has
That kind
been
of thing
raped.
will
Yeah.
trigger
So people
emotions.
bring.
Now, when you
It will
come,
trigger
listen,
emotions.
listen,
It
listen.
doesn't really
It's
mean
like
that they're
saying,
ignorant.
it's like saying somebody has malaria and everybody hears about malaria, and then you bring the wrong drug.
Because
Whatever you're bringing, whatever opinion you're bringing, let it be informed. You could be a yes or a no. You see, I study social sciences. There are many questions in social sciences that don't have yes or no.
How many people actually sit down and know their rights?
To be honest, I
That's
feel
why,
like
that's
I
why
kinda,
people can wrongfully arrest people and they won't say anything because they don't know their rights. No one takes time to read.
There was a guy who used to work with us. Shil.
feel
He went to France and came back. And you were in the studio that day when he came. He said he cannot date a Nigerian girl again. Naomi was there.
his opinion, his decision, his business.
Why? Because he found out that what he sat down with to talk with a French woman, for instance, might not know what a Richard Mille is. But if she doesn't know, she's not going to speak in ignorance. Unfortunately, I have no love for things like that. I don't know what it is. And you're not going to see her wear a fake one. Do you understand? Because she's not going to go into a store across the road. She's probably going to go to the Swatch office and get a Swatch. Or a Timex. But a Nigerian man wants to wear the watch Jay-Z is wearing, without having the net worth of his shoe.
But there's nothing that annoys me than seeing people wearing fake. Mostly, if it's Richard Mille, 95% of people that are wearing those watches are fake.
Which is why I kind of understand what Femi is saying. You know,
What is this?
What is he saying?
What is this saying?
that technology has taken over, and people don't need to really wear
Let me ask
wristwatches
you a
anymore.
question.
Because honestly,
Okay, so people
half the
don't have
time
paintings
we are-
anymore?
No, people have. Like what he's saying is that not everybody is into wearing wristwatch anymore as before, right?
Then he should
when
say-
you when
Then
the
say
only time
I.
that you could see
You should personalize
Then
it
he should say, "I."
himself.
Thank
Don't
you.
generalize
Not
it.
general.
You
Don't
should
say
personalize it.
I
technology.
don't like
No.
watches anymore. Don't
Let me
say,
give you an example. Do you know
Because
there are
at the
places
time
where you
you're
can't
always
take
on
your
your
phone inside,
phone.
but you wear your watch inside?
Yeah.
And if you go into that place, there's a clock. There's something you can see
In,
the time.
in
The
the
TV is on. You
aeroplane,
can
in
see
an aeroplane, where's the clock?
your phone in an aeroplane. DaddyFreeze.
Oh, yeah, not every. Even in Nigeria, they tell you to switch your phone off. 30 minutes into the flight, you want to check what the time is. Maybe you dozed off.
Yes, and people don't
you
obey
waking
instructions.
up and want to check.
And they still leave their phones on.
Do you understand?
Flight
I'm
mode.
I'm
Flight
trying to
mode.
tell you that there are places where if you go into the American embassy, for instance, they'll tell you to leave you're not going to go in with your phone, but you're going to go in with your watch.
And when,
Yeah.
when
Do you
Yeah, it's
understand?
very
So
important.
there's always going to be it might not be as valuable as it was 30 years ago, but it cannot totally
For me, I
go.
think it's a fashion
I think
icon,
it's-
and it's
it's-
gonna be.
it still is, because let me give you an example right now. Where is your phone? If I ask you what time it is, what are you going to do?
Do you know there was a time in this studio when we're
because-
not allowed to have phones? Right
Yeah.
now, we're still actually arguing it. There was a time when you
If
will
you-
not be allowed to bring in a phone into the studio. But who tell you not to wear your watch?
Nobody.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but like right now, I don't need my watch to tell me what the time is because I can see it here. I can see it.
Now let me ask you
here.
a question. What
You
about
know?
those times when the studio went dead? And they're asking you what time. There's none. All this. It's happened before. Everything goes dead. And then you have to write a report. What do
Those
you write?
times.
What do you? And
When?
you are not allowed. There've been a few times when stuff shuts down. So what will you use to write it? You see, Naomi. Yes, watches might lose their significance because of technological development, but it's not a bracket thing to say.
Okay, agree.
Then watches are still fashion accessories.
Yes, yes.
Watches
It's like
are
saying you
still
can't wear
investments.
Yeah.
There are some Richard Mille watches you cannot buy unless you own one or two Richard Milles.
I feel like you need to explain that to people, because I know there's a time you told me that there are times that there are different companies that release watches and then they discontinue it.
Yes.
Now it becomes more valuable.
I have bought watches for $10,000 that are now $15,000, for instance, simply because they discontinued that particular watch, or they make such few numbers. Do you know that I've seen a watch? My how do they call them? Account manager at the Rolex place called me and gave me a watch on offer cheaper than I saw it secondhand. I'm telling you, cheaper than I saw it secondhand from the Rolex factory, Rolex serial number directly. Why? Because they just knew I'd like it. So it's also an investment. It holds value. Let me give you an example. If there were war in Nigeria and you were wearing two watches, you could start your life in any country you get to. Dubai, the UK, the US. You enter with two Rolexes, you sell them before nightfall.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, and you sell them for a good price. I've sold a watch in Dubai before. So watches are also investments.
Those kind of watches.
What other watches are you talking
other
about?
watches are you going to sell?
Those kind of watches are investments now. Is it this type that you want to make investment?
No, Michael Kors can also be an investment,
To
for
who?
example.
To who?
So let's open up the phone lines.
what
Let's
it
see
is.
what people have to say.
Those kind of watches can be excused because of their investment capacity or something
Exactly.
like that.
So
But the regular wristwatches, you don't really need them because you can get time and you can tell the time from any
Let
technology.
me give you an example.
I'm pretty sure.
I don't understand what value a Hermes bag that costs $20,000 is, but I would not say you're stupid for buying it. It might have some value for you, even if it is
But
emotional
he's not saying
value.
that he's not saying that people shouldn't wear wristwatches. He's just saying that now, because I feel like
No, you
he's
see,
coming
there
from
was
a
a
place where
statement he made. Let me see
he
that
said
thing.
that technology has taken away the archaic whatever of wristwatches.
Wristwatches
right?
are not archaic.
Because
You can't say that.
something that's a cake, I feel like it's not.
There are two major
done.
watch shows in Geneva this year that we all waited for. Basel World was filled up.
He said technology has ended our necessity for the archaic wristwatch. Less is more.
But necessity really.
But you see, the problem is when you generalize
Okay, so the
something,
word
it's
is
easier to
necessity.
Yeah,
Is
it's
it
too-
really?
it's too general.
If you don't wear a wristwatch right now, would you not be able to tell the
If
time?
you had said technology,
If you
for
have
me,
your phone.
if you had said technology, for
or if
me,
you have any other.
Okay, has technology removed the necessity of investment opportunities in watches, for instance?
technology makes
No.
it easier. It hasn't removed.
Yeah, it doesn't remember.
That's it.
Yeah. Somebody's calling. Let's
But
pick
it's
a call.
not necessary anymore if you can get the information anywhere else. Hello?
2710969, 2711969, 2712969, and 2713969. While we wait for calls, big shout out to the UK. They've got a new prime minister. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Yes, we're going to call her. Hello? Yes, go ahead.
Good evening, man. Can I?
All right, can I go ahead?
Yeah. I just wanted to say that watches have lost, it's not something to be debated. Watches have lost significance.
For
The advent
you.
of technology.
For
For you,
Yes. No, yes, for me. Thank you for that correction. My opinion.
Absolutely, and it's a good point.
And I think it's for majority actually.
no dear.
I think it's for majority actually. How
Because-
many, aside that,
Okay, because
how many,
if it's
who else
for
do you
majority,
know
then why
that
is Richard
invest
Mill
in
making money?
wristwatches?
But
Well-
for how many percent of the population?
Let me give you an example. You could get a Rolex for $10,000. Hold on. How many? $10,000 in today's money is 3.5 million. That's the average price of a plot of land. Now, hold on. I know people who can't afford a Rolex but can't afford land. Now, the land is valuable if the country is doing well. If Nigeria were at war, the land becomes valueless immediately. But your watch does not lose value because once you can get it across a border into a country that is not at war, the value of the Rolex is.
And we're talking about land which you can build on and also do business with.
Hello. Hold on a second, guy. Hold on, bros. Calm down. Do you know there was a time when people left their land in the north and ran down to the south? There was a period when
I was quite a grown-up boy when that happened.
good. I remember somebody offering me a hotel for 1.5 million naira.
That's possible.
So what I'm trying to say is, if you can afford a 3 million naira land, you can.
Everybody now has an Android phone in their pocket. Now, the percentage of those who would not have theirs on at a particular time, come on, let's look at this. How many people walk into the American embassy? Just a few percentage of the population. How many people walk into the Egyptian embassy? How many people are going for what's it called in Saudi Arabia? The Hajj. How many people can afford it? In spite of the fact that, yeah, a lot of people can afford it, but how many?
You do have a point. However, you cannot say that it has removed the necessity.
No. The watches would always, in fact, I'm wearing one as I'm talking to you now.
So you don't even have a case. You just shot yourself in the foot.
I'm telling you that I'm wearing one, but
He's
if
wearing
you
one
would
because
allow
it's
me
still a
to
fashion
finish,
item.
I will tell you that I actually didn't look at it throughout today.
Yeah, exactly.
Now you're contradicting yourself. And
Yes, you could say that. But I'm trying to also
okay, let me ask you a question. Sorry to cut you. Hold on. Watch, in your case now, you have a watch, but you haven't glanced at it all day. Meaning you are using it. Hold on. Meaning you're using it as a fashion accessory.
Maybe because I'm used to wearing watches. I started wearing watches before the advent of phones. I'm used to wearing watches.
Fantastic. So the watch has a function for you. It keeps your hand occupied.
But you and I would agree that what would make me want to usually wear the watch from the 90s, which would be to tell time and also use it as...
No, the necessity telling time is not also the same as necessity as a fashion accessory or necessity as an investment or necessity.
But
that one is being removed from the scheme of things. So the value would reduce to some people.
But you're still wearing a watch.
Because we're talking about one as a fashion accessory, the other as, something for to tell time with. Not this to tell time. So what do you use it for? Just a fashion accessory.
But it's still necessary as a fashion accessory.
no, it's not necessary. You can
You can
replace it
leave your
with
watch at home. Watches are no longer that thing that they used to.
Have you
Yes,
ever gone
they're
to a
no
wedding
longer
and
what they
seen
used
guys
to
who
be.
are not wearing watches? Have you ever gone to a wedding in Lagos and seen guys with bare hands and checking time from their phones? No, they will still wear their watches.
These things no longer really matter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, let's take more calls. Yeah, hello? Hello, sir, go ahead.
Yes, this is a very good stuff. I love it. But there's one part that we're not looking at, even apart from the whole watch thing. Watch, firstly, not ever go out of fashion or out of use. So I give you an instance that a lot of people might have not noticed. So even while you have an Android phone and you are not on the big boy side that probably has 2 or 3 big phones, you still notice that you still need the small phone for emergency calls. So if you say, okay, because there are Androids and maybe iPhones and all of that, so there is no need for you to have a small phone. What happens when your phone gets stolen on the spot?
What are
You
saying?
end up still
The
looking
small
for
phones
someone
also
like,
have
okay,
time.
guy, I bet you get small phone. Ma take also so and so to help me locate whatever I see at the end of the day. So even while we are even looking at the whole watch thing, I think that is even too far, because if you are talking about watch, why haven't some people that are still using small phones for assistance, why haven't they dumped them? Because whether you like it or not, the big phone battery dies even when you do like.
He's making a point. I appreciate the point. What he's saying is, this phone, for instance, cannot go on the web, but I still use it because I know my iPhone XS battery is going to die quicker than this phone battery. So is this phone totally useless? Absolutely not. Now, if we look at
But
the
is it
construct,
overly necessary?
yes,
Definitely.
yes, because that one will die. If I were out of my house the whole day, after 10 hours, I'll start relying on only this.
It's totally no. It's not completely necessary.
No.
But
You
it's-
see,
it's
the
just
first
there
guy
for an
actually shot
emergency.
himself in the
It's
foot
just there for an emergency.
because he said
DaddyFreeze.
he wears a watch as a fashion accessory. Let's listen to what
Yes, DaddyFreeze,
listen
what
to
he
what
can-
Femi Otedola said. He said, technology has ended our necessity for the archaic wristwatch. If he added with regards to telling time, then he would have a good point. But he didn't add with regards to telling time. Technology has not removed the watch as a fashion accessory. It has not removed the watch as an investment. It has not removed the watch as...
But obviously, he was coming from the perspective
You
of
can't
telling
say
time.
where he was coming from, not just telling time, because he wasn't specific.
Also,
Let's take phone calls. I can't believe we have this many phone calls on this topic. Yeah, hello, good evening. Go ahead, tell us. Please, we need you to be a little louder.
Now, what I think is necessary for me is not so much necessary for you. Do you get what I'm saying? There was a time when if I don't use a watch, I feel naked. Like I'm not alright.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? Like I am used to using a watch. So it's just that people use this differently. It is so much necessary for some people that they can do without it, and for some other people they don't care. So I think it depends on you personally.
All right. Yes, more calls coming through. We still have quite a few calls. Yes, hello, go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
I'm coming from two angles. For me, I don't believe the watches will ever get extinct. They will just have two different functions. Some for people for selling time, some for fashion. Well, I'm coming from the angle of as a business. And if that Nigerians will wear high-end watches and they can't afford it. But for me, the market sells those watches to them and cash out.
Okay, that also makes sense. Selling watches is a business. Manufacturing watches is a business. Buying watches, hedging your funds on watches is also a form of investment. We have calls coming through. Yeah, hello?
Yeah, hello, hi, Chris.
Yes, good evening. Please go ahead with your opinion.
Yeah, basically, I want to contribute a bit to a couple of the things you have said. You said some things that are entirely correct in terms of selecting the entry level watch. No, it's not. Is it top end watch as well? No. Watches are like in, say, 5 categories: luxury, sports, casual, fashion. Off the top of my head, I will.
I think you're wrong. Every watchmaker. Okay.
Now, you said a lot of things that are quite right, yeah?
Okay.
Is Rolex watch an investment? Yes, it is. Are other watches more expensive than Rolex an investment? Yeah. No, they are not.
Patek Philippe, Richard Mille.
Audemars.
Richard Mille.
Audemars, thank you.
Hold on. Audemars Piguet, Richard Mille. The three Holy Trinity. Vacheron Constantine, Audemars Piguet, and Patek Philippe. Yes. I think investment not an investment as much as Rolex is. Now, do I believe that Rolex is a top end watch? No, Rolex is still a top watch. Listen to the names of all their watches. They go with what they do. In terms of submariner, based on water, explorer, based on actually exploration kind of things. The other one, which is for the electrician that can handle a certain number of magnetic flux. Yeah,
that's the mill calls.
Yes, that's the They are all two watches. They all set a particular. Does Rolex have a particular rocket science engineering behind their watches? No, they're very base watches. That's why the back are covered. Now, can I drive a car of 1 million naira and wear a watch on my wrist of 30 million naira? Yes, I can. And I'll be very happy doing that. It's not, watch is an art. When you're going into the luxury angle, it's like you said, a Picasso painting. One of the ladies there was arguing. The fact that someone buys a Picasso painting for 50 million naira, he's not an idiot. It gives you much joy and much pleasure that you can phantom. The fact that you can go buy a Timex for what? $20. It doesn't make the guy who buys a 50 million naira painting more than you. That's what excites you. This is what excites me. I want to wear a watch at extreme craftsmanship, like a Jaeger culture, like an Alanga and Zona.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are premium watches. Jaeger culture is the watchmaker as watchmakers. He's built watch for the whole
yeah.
He's built movement. He's built the most movement in the world. 1,250 or so.
Yeah.
Movement in the world. Rolex barely bought the company that they've been making engines for, well, in the 2000 years. They've literally assembled watches forever.
Yeah, and if you notice, Rolex watches are not very complicated. They would barely have anything more than a chronometer. Sorry, a chronograph.
No, there's no complication in any Rolex watch. Zenith or Primero, actually, a Grand Seiko.
Do you know that the Zenith was the guy who designed the Daytona, the movement of the...
And they actually used the movement of the Zenith in that watch, actually. Yes, and I'm aware of that. So most of these things that they go out and so Rolex is just...
But you see, you missed something on Patek Philippe. Patek Philippe are handmade watches with in-house movements.
The Holy Trinity are handmade watches with in-house movement. What makes a watch a level 1 watch, which is the Alanga and Zona, Jaeger LaCoste, the Holy Trinity, Piaget,
which is what I mentioned in my article. I remember mentioning Piaget.
He's Piaget.
Yeah.
In luxury watch, I'll tell you what comes with it. It's just like a Ferrari. You don't really keep time. Most of their peaks are like 18,000 vibrations per hour. But the Grand Seiko Hybrid, it's about 36,000. That's about accurate as a watch can be. And the other two watchmakers today who have a hybrid watch, the Zen Ephemeral and the Grand Seiko.
And guess what? A proper Grand Seiko is like $30,000.
Grand Seiko is like a Japanese samurai sword. It's not on the same level as the Rolex. It's super the Rolex.
Yeah. Do you know when it comes to watchmaking, Omega is slightly higher than Rolex?
Oh, not slightly. Omega is higher than Rolex. They are both on the same level. They are both level 3 watches. Ugo is below a level 3 watch. Ugo is much of a new age Rolex. Their engines are not perfect. They show the back cases. Anybody who has the guts to show the back case. Like, you were talking about a tourbillon in a watch. A tourbillon was something put in a pocket watch to stabilize the time, to keep the time. A tourbillon in a wristwatch is totally useless, but it's just for the art of it.
Yes!
Wow.
Seeing that tourbillon spin around.
I'm enjoying this conversation because I can actually see the faces of my ignorant.
We're enjoying this conversation. Wow.
Talk to the ladies there just for a second. My dear, there's one of you that has been speaking. You know, sometimes we learn. Honestly, my first time I've ever talking to DaddyFreeze, I've followed your whatever movement thing, and I had that belief before you even started it. Now, we learn from each other every day. A lot of things the girls have been saying that they will never learn with that kind of mindset. Open your mind.
End of this show. End of the show is over. The show is over, bro.
At the end of the day, the gates of heaven are open to all.
Our Ugandan friend said she's not going to make heaven, so no need.
To make heaven.
Yes. No, actually,
I said the gates
of heaven
are open to all, which means what we do on
Everybody is
earth
allowed to
and what we
think
buy.
the way they
No,
want
what we
to
do on
think.
earth, it's okay. Michael Kors, Rolex, gates of heaven.
Can we also be heaven here?
I think this is why you're enjoying this conversation about wristwatches. Some of us are bored because we don't care about
Because you're
wristwatches.
ignorant.
No,
it's
ignorant, but
Do you
because we
know-
don't care
listen,
about wristwatches.
do you know- hold on.
I won't spend my time
Hold on.
looking
Do you know if this topic was about law? Do you know if this topic was about relativity? Do you know you'll still be bored?
No, DaddyFreeze.
Do you know if this topic was about aliens? Do you will still
Okay,
be
yeah,
bored?
if it's about aliens, I'll be bored because I don't like it as well.
Okay,
Right?
so what do you
I
like?
don't
like
it.
aliens.
Hold on.
Daddy,
What do you like?
I can listen to you when you talk about aviation because I'm interested in it. I like it, right? So it doesn't make me
You
ignorant.
like aviation, you heard me talk about aviation, and then you still say things like the woman was okay. If you said it was a woman who...
I said, well, all we had
Alright, he
was
wants to address
eyewitness
the
account.
speech made by Femi Otedola. Let's allow him to talk.
Okay, now, for a man like Femi Otedola to say he's saying that technology has actually, I can't rephrase, maybe what kind of like obsolete irrelevant. A man like him should not make such a statement. I think the yacht he bought is about £9 million. It literally doesn't sell. It's too big. He sails with it with a navy boat behind him with armed men on it. So he actually bought an impractical boat to show affluence. So a man like that has
Come. Don't insult Uncle Femi. That one I'm not going to
I
agree
mean,
with.
if a millionaire like Mr. Femi Otedola is telling us that wristwatches don't matter to him.
All right. Before Uncle Femi gets angry and comes to drive us home from this radio station and say we should not do radio here again. Please. Uncle Femi, we like your boat too.
Femi, you
He can
have
say,
It's
I
a
feel
nice
like a
boat.
man like him can say whatever he wants to say.
That's stupid ignorance again.
No, DaddyFreeze, it's not me being ignorant.
So
I mean,
because a man has money, everything he says makes
Because,
sense.
yeah. As in, whoever
I didn't want to say that about. I didn't want to say that. Okay.
If you're saying that it's ignorant for him to say whatever he
No,
said.
nobody's saying he's ignorant. We're saying
Oh,
he's ignorant
because
for
it's
you.
he's not ignorant, but it's ignorant for me to support
No,
him.
you are ignorant.
It's not ignorant.
And you're supporting him because he has like millions.
I'm supporting whatever reason that made him say technology has taken away the necessity of wristwatches. I'm supporting that as well because really I don't think I need.
He said technology has
I'm
taken
not
away.
using my wristwatches for investment. It's Swatch now. It's Swatch. It's original. Right? It's original Swatch. Yes.
I'm taking the watch off and I'm giving it to the
No,
floor.
it's just a
She doesn't need the watch.
Yes, DaddyFreeze, I've been wearing it all day and I've not glanced at it because it's just
All
a
right,
fashion
let's take
piece.
it off. Let's take it off.
It's just
It's
a
not-
fashion piece. And because I don't have
All right,
bracelets.
guys.
If I had bracelets, I won't be wearing it. All right?
All right, sell the watch and buy a bracelet.
Nah, not necessary. I
But
don't.
the watch, that means the watch is necessary. All right. That was a very informed phone call. I like to thank that gentleman. Unfortunately, I didn't get his name.
Thank God.
That was a very. I like it when people call
DaddyFreeze,
and have sense.
DaddyFreeze, we have to go. Actually.
Richard
It's
Mill.
12 minutes
It's
down.
been a
I have to
while
go.
since I sat down with people who have sense.
DaddyFreeze, you sit with
You
us
sit
every
with us
day.
every day, every fucking
This is you
day.
people I'm actually talking about. I need to be delivered from you people.
But seriously, I want to be.
Zika, wearer of Folex.
It's not true that I don't have Folex and I don't have Rolex.
No. There's somebody that God is going to judge. You are wearing fake Richard Mille, and you are standing doing like this, taking picture in front of church. God will judge you.
Why will God judge the person?
You're part of
Can you see? How can you wear a fake watch?
Why will God judge the
in
person?
real church or
It
a
might
fake
have
church?
been.
Okay, we don't
No,
know.
if you wear a
Maybe
fake
the watch is more
if you wear
original
a
than the
fake watch,
building.
you're stealing from the original company because you're part of their problem.
You are a thief.
If you wear a fake anything, you're stealing from the original company.
That's you too.
What's fake?
Your hair? The glasses?
Okay, for you what can you wear this for?
When
dress?
you know Yahoo Boy has used to do by then. Because it's fake.
DaddyFreeze, please.
Okay, all right. Bye, guys. We love you guys.
Yeah.